What is up, you guys? Welcome back to your favorite podcast of your 2024 champion, Philadelphia Eagles. Welcome back. We're back with another episode this week, coming to you live with some free agent updates, some draft capital, what we expect the Eagles to go with, where they're going to go in the draft, what kinds of things they're going to be looking for. And we are excited to bring it to you. So welcome back. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co-host, Stephen Maslij.
What's up, Matthew? How you doing on this fine Tuesday evening, 2 days before the draft? Football kind of feels back in a sort of way. I know we've kind of had a short off season coming in here, obviously winning the Super Bowl. And I feel like it really hasn't hit us as much as like we talked about this kind of on the side. This in 2018, it really smacked us. And now we're like, all right, draft. What are we doing? What are we moving pieces? I feel like this is kind of underappreciated. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you're feeling, but.
No, I mean, when you play through April, I'm not through April, my apologies. When you play through February, everything really kind of sneaks up on you. Things happen quickly. Free agency was only like a week or two after the Super Bowl ended, and the draft, I feel like the draft snuck up this year more so than recent years. And maybe it's because the Eagles are in such a great position that we as fans don't have to feel nervous about anything or, feel like when I'm talking about it myself, I feel like the Eagles are still in such a good position that I don't have to be worried about what they do or don't do. Don't get me wrong. I'm sitting here. I'm ready for everything. I have expectations for them and what I want to see them do. But, they're in a position where the worst case scenario for them is still very high ceiling. So I feel like we're being blessed as Eagles fans to enjoy some successful seasons lately and a successful team and, just be in the upper echelon of that league with an elite quarterback. Let me clear my throat. An elite quarterback and just an elite team around him. So it's been fun to be an Eagles fan lately, hasn't it?
Hell yeah, dude. It's been awesome. This offseason's been fun. AJ trolling everybody has been awesome. We just got over the incident of him getting his car stolen and him posting about it on Twitter and all social media platforms and getting it back within an hour.
That dude, saw AJ's video and was like, no, I stole AJ's car. I got to bring that back.
Yeah.
Come on, we got to do better. We got to do better.
Big Dom got a guy to get it back, but I think that's a joke. But
treat your guys with respect. Treat everybody around you with respect. I know Philadelphians will take that with a grain of salt, but let's try to do a little bit better, not only for our city but for our players. So thank you guys. But with that being said, obviously we've been away for a little bit. We've been taking a little bit of a break. We didn't, obviously, as we just talked about with the lengthy playoff run, we didn't really get a lot of time off in our offseason. So we kind of just took our little break there, had our offseason. Obviously, we'll have a little bit of a break again after the draft, but we will be back to you guys, ready to go a few weeks before preseason with some more updates on training camp and whatnot and what's happening this summer. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But with that all being said, let's catch you guys up on what happened while we were gone. So obviously free agency came through and the Eagles picked up a few players, but they were relatively quiet. Didn't do a lot of big signings, but, they picked up some veteran pieces here and there and some rotational pieces that'll work in their favor. Before we get into any of the players, Maslij, what do you think about what they did this offseason, free agent-wise, and their general plan for this offseason?
I felt like it was relatively what we expected, right? I mean, we kind of expected to lose guys like Sweat, Milton Williams. I personally didn't expect to lose CJ. That was a little bit of a shock. That was probably the biggest shock. Becton moving on wasn't the biggest shock to me. As we mentioned, we didn't really mention, but we just re-signed Cam Jurgens literally yesterday, which is awesome. So that's cool to have another 3-year extension. Other than that, the big hole, I guess, is CJ that we're missing. I feel like we're going to move on from Dallas Goedert before the season comes to fruition. But again, he still has another year on his contract. We'll see how that goes. Re-signing Bond was awesome. Re-signing, as much as we lost 5 starters on our team, Slay's obviously gone. It's it hasn't been a shock to me of that we lost some depth, some pieces, because we are such a high caliber team. People need to be paid, especially seeing Milton Williams, Josh Sweat get paid. That was going to happen. That I didn't expect them to get the top of that money, especially Milton Williams, like they did. But they performed the Super Bowl, and that's the biggest stage on planet Earth. And when you perform the Super Bowl, you always get paid by somebody. So, and this is what we got to draft for. I mean, I'm excited. We got a couple pieces, a couple guys that have high potential, minimum contracts that we're going to get into. Which, I mean, just like Howie Cook, Howie do his thing. I mean, there's no reason not to trust him at this point, right?
I agree. I mean, personally, I think that Howie has done more than enough in the past, 5, 6 years to earn Philadelphians' trust in terms of what he's going to do with the team, how he's going to adjust contracts, how he's going to manage the budget, and how he's going to bring veteran pieces in to complement the younger guys. And, it's kind of an anomaly that we've hit on so many of our top draft picks in the past 3 years. And it's not that often that you run into a situation where you have to pay so many young guys. And, courtesy of our GM, he did a great job in these past few drafts. And we've got a lot of young guys that are up and coming on contracts, like Cam Jurgens, like you just said, who just got a big extension. And guys like Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and DeJean and Quinyon and Jordan Davis. And, there's still more that goes on in that list. And it's just going to be tough to, keep this core team around and still be able to pick up, big name guys. It's just, it was kind of miraculous that they've been able to manage doing it for so long. Like, for a few years there, I started feeling like, wow, the Eagles kind of feel like they have unlimited budget here, because you've got, a generous owner in Jeffrey Lurie who's paying out cash money in the, signing bonuses and whatnot. And Howie, who has always just been, a numbers guy who has been able to work with analytics and, piece by piece kind of just chip away at the cap hit in the contracts with restructuring. So, I have faith in what they're going to be able to do and what they have planned for the future. I think that after the last Super Bowl win, they didn't have a plan for how to keep that together. And it kind of became, it became their, I'm blanking on the word. It became their mold for what to do next. It gave them an idea for all right, we saw what happened this time. Now we can go into the next one and make sure that doesn't happen again. And, I think they got a plan this time, and I'm excited for what they're going to do. And with that being said, I don't even mind the guys that they did bring in. So, just getting into the big name guys that they did bring in, they did sign an outside linebacker in Azeez Ojulari from the Giants. And he is another guy from Georgia who, is on that championship defense with the rest of the guys. He's going to have a lot of camaraderie and companionship with the guys we've got on the team already. And he was a top draft pick? He was a top 15, wasn't he?
Was he that high? I know.
I don't remember.
He was that high, but I don't know.
You know him better than I do. I didn't get to see a lot of him, but I know that he was a coveted draft prospect when he was coming up.
Yeah.
He's been a little bit underwhelming. I know he's had some injury issues, but I know that he, not only complements his Georgia guys well, but an edge was something we've really been needing, let alone taking it from a rival team. So what do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, he's been decent on the Giants. Underwhelming, in my opinion. Not necessarily star caliber, but you come to a team like us and you have a guy that gets double teamed on the inside every single time. It's only going to open up lanes for you, one-on-ones for you. I know they had that a lot with Dexter Lawrence, but he's been hurt on the Giants for the majority of last year. Ojulari, I mean, I don't expect big things, but when you come to our team, it's kind of your stardom gets opened up, especially on this defense, especially on our secondary being the way it is. And I mean, I want to say, me personally, I'm not excited for it. That's not the word I would use, but intrigued is kind of the word I'm going to use. I'm going to see what he is. I don't hate the guy. Don't love the guy. I personally don't. I kind of have a vendetta against him because of the Giants and kind of just their D-line is kind of just meh. But he's been decent and he's shown he has talent. And I mean, I'm excited to what we can transform him into.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the key phrase to our offseason this year was low risk, high reward.
Yeah.
We picked up a lot of guys that have a lot of potential or had a lot of potential in previous years and kind of fell off a cliff. And, after the Becton resurgence of last year and Bond and Saquon, even if you want to go, I think he's in a realm of his own. But if you want to talk about people coming over and having resurgences in Philly, we tend to have a way of doing that. And I think that we're picking up guys that had a lot of potential or had like a hot year and kind of fell off a cliff, and we're picking them up as depth pieces and kind of just hoping that maybe they might have a resurgence. And if they don't, it doesn't really hurt us in any way. They're just extra pieces to be there.
Yeah, that's the exact thing with Josh Uche. Like
exactly.
He's had 11 and a half sacks in 1 year on New England. Have you heard his name since? I haven't.
And with that being said, Josh Uche is yet another signing, another edge. We picked up 2 edge guys, and I'm just going to be straight up. I was a little disappointed with that being the case, letting go of Sweat and only picking up those 2 edge guys as rotational pieces. I was kind of hoping they would go out and get somebody that could be a more solidified starter, and that didn't need to be a Myles Garrett or the trade rumors for T.J. Watt or whatever. Like I didn't need like a top tier guy, but I did want somebody with a little bit more of an established presence. Somebody like I wouldn't have minded bringing in a veteran Von Miller for the right price, or bringing in like a Chase Young on a prove it deal. Like talk about potential, pulling out potential out of somebody. That felt like to me like a perfect target piece of somebody you could have gone who's been on a decline for the past couple of years, number 2 overall pick in the previous years, and just work with him, try to bring him up, get him on a cheap contract, and get him on a good defense on the same pass rushing line as Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. But I'm not mad at it either. Like I'm not mad that they didn't get more. I wish they did a little more, but I am going to say that their last chance to do that is in the draft, and they do need more pieces at edge. And I know that they have been connected with edge rushing guys in their first round draft area, but I hope that that's a key piece they look at in the draft because Uche and Aziz they're just rotational pieces to me, but they do have high upside.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. I mean, it's not. But the thing is, it's not like you could just add star talent. Like you can't pull it out of thin air. Like we're not going to like all these rumors about getting TJ Watt for our first round. That's just ridiculous.
I've never really bought that either. I just know that we started getting linked to like Crosby and TJ and Garrett and obviously all of those were always far fetched. It was fun to talk about the Garrett situation, but that was never really a realistic option. It was just fans get a little too excited for their own after Super Bowl win.
Yeah, I mean, a free agent I would really like to sign is if we don't get it, I think I'd probably draft a safety in this draft. We'll go through what we think in the mock, but I would love Jesse Bates to come back and play with Fangio. He's a vet. He's a 31 now, 32, a veteran presence. He had a decent year on the Falcons last year. If we can assign him to not a min, but like a decent deal, decent contract, but like again, we probably won't do it because we would have just kept CJ.
To be completely honest with you, with that, just because we're on the topic, I was going to save it for in a little bit, but I'm fairly confident. Hold me to it. I could be dead wrong, but if we do not take Malachi Starks with our first round draft pick, I almost guarantee we sign Justin Simmons after the draft.
You think so?
I do. I think there's every reason for him to come here. I think that, being an unsigned safety right now who still had a good year last year, he has played with Fangio. He's talked about how he wants to play for a contender. He's played with the D-backs coach that we have here. I forget his name, but that's 2 coaches in his position group, that he has worked with before, wants to come to a contending team like the Eagles. And he's even outright said publicly that he would like to play for the Eagles. So I think that there's every reason for us, if we do not get the draft capital at safety that we want, for us to go out and get him on a veteran type deal.
Yeah. I would love that regardless, even if I don't think we're going to go safety first round personally, but if we pick one up in the second or third or fourth or whenever we do, it would just be nice to have Jesse Bates to lead the way, especially. because our defense is so young.
And just to round out, so we don't take too long on the free agent stuff. You guys are probably pretty updated on all that, but we also signed AJ Dillon to be the backup to Saquon, another big, burly back that's going to be a power back, short yardage situation, just to give Saquon a little bit of a break sometimes. He's been a starting caliber running back, very good. I was very happy with the signing. I think he's a perfect backup running back, a good pairing to Saquon, a good complement, bowling ball and the elusiveness. So I think that was a good one. Any thoughts on him before I go to the next one?
Only red flag is he was injured all last year, ankles or Achilles or whatever his thing was.
Yeah, so was Saquon his whole career.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I hate the injury stuff.
I'm just gonna skip over. Okay. At least Saquon was healthy when we got him.
I'm just kidding.
No, I love AJ Dillon. He was supposed to kind of take over that backfield after Aaron Jones. It's a power back. I mean, he might be on our open day roster. He could not be, depending where we go in the draft. If he probably will. I'm not saying he won't, but depending on what running backs fall in this draft, there's a lot of running backs in the draft that seem to be kind of overlooked, overseen, and are falling like crazy. Obviously, I love Will Shipley, so he'll still be on our team. And I think we have a decent backfield. There's nothing other than Saquon that you can make me feel that this backfield isn't great with Saquon there. But I love AJ Dillon. I've been an AJ Dillon fan since I drafted him in Dynasty. He's a tough, hard-nosed runner, like you said, out of Boston College. He's good. We'll see how it does after the injury.
He's going to be a backup. I don't expect big production out of him, but I think that he's a good compliment to have behind Saquon. And we've seen, in years where we had a power back, it has really come in handy for the Eagles. They use it. They do a good job of running a power backfield when they have the personnel for it. If you remember, how successful LeGarrette Blount was when he was here. Yes. Hopefully we run a similar kind of situation to that. But, it is to be seen. But again, just another guy to be a rotational piece. Nothing major. Nothing. He's not going to be a huge production, stat fill-up guy. But nice to have. And then to get into our last two guys, the last big name that I think is going to be particularly productive would be Adoree Jackson, quarterback. Was he also on the Giants as well? Or was he on a different team last year?
Adoree Jackson? Yeah, he was. I think he was on the Giants. Yeah.
Yeah. Good piece. He was a big prospect in college. Had a lot of success being, a utility guy. He played pretty much every position for his college. I forget what school he went to. But I remember watching him a lot. And when he came into the league, he had a few good years. He's gotten a little bit older, a little bit long in the tooth, and he's slowed down a little bit. But he's got a lot of speed. He's athletic, and he has been a pretty solid corner in the NFL. So I expect him to actually be our second outside guy, most likely, in my opinion. I know that a lot of people have faith in Ringo. I think that Ringo is going to be competing for that spot, and you may even see them rotating throughout the year, but I do think you'll see a decent amount of Adoree Jackson, if not, 75 to, 85% of the time. I expect pretty big things out of Adoree Jackson personally. I know you've talked about him before with me. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I actually got in an argument about 2 months ago about him just coming in, just be a veteran presence. We signed him for $9 million on a 1-year flyer, pretty much. I think he's fine. Again, I think he can be decent as a cornerback too. He doesn't. Again, I don't mean to sound negative about these guys that we get, but he's hasn't been particularly great. I think he could do great things on our defense in Fangio's system. It's kind of a wait and see. It's a plug and play. Well, I'm just kind of more worried about what Ringo is, and we don't know exactly if he could be a starting caliber corner in this league. And I hope that his mentorship, at least at very minimum, drives Ringo to be a starting caliber corner. That's my biggest thing with Adoree. If he starts this year, that's great. But my biggest thing is I hope he develops Eli Ricks or Keely Ringo or or even if we draft a corner, just some of these young guys, be a little bit of a veteran presence, especially losing Slay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we signed him to be. I mean, it's a guy who has been in the league for a while. He's had some success over certain years, and he's still got the athleticism to keep up and be that productive veteran to these young guys. So I think that's pretty much what they brought him in to be. I think that they are still grooming Ringo to be the guy. I think that they've had a lot of faith in him over the years and know that he's, just a touch away. I'm not sure what we're missing in Keely Ringo yet. As far as I've seen him, especially including last year, he plays hard, he hits hard, he flies around the field, and to be completely honest, he did a great job in coverage in the reps that I remember seeing out of him last year. So truthfully, like I said, it's kind of a toss up between him and Adoree Jackson on who that quarterback 3 is going to be in my mind. Like I said, as of now, I expect it to be Adoree Jackson, but I wouldn't be surprised if that switched pretty early in the year as well.
Yeah. And we'll get into more like of the preseason stuff as the summer goes on and whatnot. But I mean, there's also the very real possibility Cooper can move outside. I mean, he played it all the time at Iowa. He's a first-team All-American at it. I'm not saying he will, and I think he's great in a nickel spot, but he could.
I'll give you one thing against it, and not only is it the fact that we obviously got to see how much of a Swiss Army knife he could be in that spot last year, but Vic Fangio in this offseason has been asked about it, and he said that he's going to keep him at slot no matter what, pretty much. So he said that he thinks that's where he belongs. He thinks that's where he's most well utilized. So it's not impossible for him to move outside, but I think they will do everything in their power to make sure he doesn't have to, even if that means using some of the draft capital that we have in the next 2 years, because we're going to have to talk about that in this draft. Over the next 2 drafts, we have 20 draft picks, and that's a lot to work with. And I personally wouldn't be surprised if we use that draft capital to trade for somebody in this draft. And it won't be to trade up for somebody or to trade back for somebody. It'll be to get a veteran guy to bring in, whether that be a safety or a corner or an edge guy or what. So don't expect much on offense. I think the offense is pretty well rounded out. I wouldn't expect any big moves over there. But I do expect, I think that there's some pretty key pieces on the defense, namely safety after the CJ departure. We do want that secondary corner guy if our plan doesn't work out the way we hope it might. And you always want edge and D tackle. So expect them to be looking to make moves, maybe go grab a guy. I don't know who it would be, so to say, but they have a lot of draft capital to move around. I think that's something to keep an eye on. And all right, last thing before we get into it, we don't even have to have a conversation about it, but I do just want to bring it up for the conversational aspect of it, that the Eagles did sign Harrison Bryant, tight end. And the conversational piece about it is not so much that Harrison Bryant is, some stellar player, but that the Eagles would be missing Dallas Goedert if they were to move on from him would be a blocking tight end. We have Grant Calcaterra, who has shown that he has, a relationship with Jalen Hurts, is able to go out and receive well and catch the ball, but he really struggles in the blocking aspect of the game. And if we were to get rid of Dallas Goedert, we'd be giving up any blocking tight end on the roster because Harrison Bryant is not that guy. So I was a little bit shocked when they went out and grabbed Harrison Bryant because I knew we were going to go out and look for some tight ends in case we can move on from Dallas Goedert, which I don't want to, nor do I expect them to this year. I think they will next year. But if they were to do so, I expected them to go out and grab a blocking tight end, which they did not do, which I found interesting. So another thing to look at in the draft. And with that being said, sorry, go ahead. Say your
no, I mean, I just don't know what to think of what we're going to do with Dallas Goedert. It seems like we're going to move on from him. It seems like we're trying to get something for him. And I don't know if they do you think that they necessarily trust Calcaterra to be the next guy up? Like, there's a bunch of tight ends that are going to drop in this draft that are receiving tight ends. I mean, obviously, we're not going to get Tyler Warren out of Penn State, but like, we'll get into what we think. And I mean, there's a guy that if he falls in the third round has been very good in college. and we'll get into that though.
Well, I think that they're going to hold on to, like I said, I think they're going to hold on to Dallas one more year. I think that they, we're flirting with the idea of moving on from him because obviously he's old, he's injury prone, and he's got a large contract. But if you can still offload that contract before going into next offseason at some point, you can, there's no reason not to hold on to him again through this year. We have the budget for it right now. I know they don't necessarily want to move on from Goddard. He's been in the building for a long time. Everybody likes him. So I expect them to hold on to him one more year. But I think that, it's been clear that we don't really utilize the tight end position in the receiving game that well. And I don't really see the point of going out and grabbing all these receiving tight ends because that's not the way we value our tight ends. The way we use our tight ends is in the blocking game, in the run game, and, sealing those edges off. So if I were the Eagles, I'd be going after, somebody that has more blocking experience. But I'm not sure exactly what their plan is, and I do think they have faith in Calcaterra as a receiver, but I don't think they have faith in him in terms of the way that they utilize the tight end most of the time. I think that he's a perfect backup tight end. Like he's a perfect, 12 personnel guy or, whatnot. So we will see what they do in that regard. But with that being said, let's jump right into the draft and, what we expect out of the Eagles. So the Eagles, obviously, after winning the Super Bowl, will be holding the 32nd pick and the last pick in each round. My apologies, I should have had this pulled up by now, but I know that they do not pick past the 5th round.
I have it up. I just had it up, and and where did it go? We have the first round pick of number 32 overall, our second round pick number 64 overall, our third round pick 94 overall, our fourth round pick of 134 overall, and we had 4 fifths. Sorry, excuse me.
4 fifths, yes.
I thought it was 3. I don't know if this is correct.
No, it's 4.
Is it 4? Okay, yeah, 3.
Yeah.
So 1 from Houston, 1 from Washington, 1 from Cleveland. It's through Detroit. So we have a bunch of draft capital. I mean, it's still not nothing. It's nothing absurd, but where are you thinking? I know we're kind of just sitting at the end of the first round. What are you thinking? Like, let's start off. Where do you want to go? If you're Howie as a GM, where do you want to go?
I'll just give it to you like this. I'm going to go straight in the order that I would go in terms of positional needs and what I'd want to see us go for. Right. So in the first round, there's only 3 positions I personally would be willing to see. All right. Well, 4 if you include Maslij Starks. But truly, I don't think they're going to go safety in the first round. Maslij Starks is the only person I'd be willing to go for. But anyway, getting on track, I want to see us go after an edge or a D tackle. And I can live with an O lineman, but I'd prefer if we went in the direction of defense. I think that's our biggest need right now. I think that obviously the departures of Milton Williams and Josh Sweat, while we have guys in place to take their spots, I think that you need more solidified guys in those spots. And I think that this is a great draft for D linemen, edge and D tackle, especially in the first round. I think you're going to see a lot of guys that are able to go that high, and some guys that might even fall that would normally be a first-round pick because of the amount of people that are in there. So, again, I'd like to see edge D tackle, no particular order, 1A, 1B in that regard. And if if Howie really felt the need to take the heir apparent to Lane Johnson, I would be fine with it. But I do hope that they go defense.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I've been seeing some mocks being absolutely stupid and saying we're going to take a receiver. I think that is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I've heard that a couple times. I don't even get the idea of it.
Ryan Dotson for another 2 years. We obviously have AJ and Smitty. There's
literally no reason to use a first round draft pick on a wide receiver 3 in any scenario, let alone for the Eagles right now with their other needs.
I understand the way the draft's going, there's receivers dropping like Emeka Egbuka. Like was a top 10 pick talked about at one point in his career, or AK last year before this season. Luther Burden, like guys like that they said we're going to go top 15. I don't care. That's not a best player available type thing to me. Best player available is your need and the best player on the table. Like I think the only thing that we would do best player available is kind of what you mentioned is O-line. If a guy falls that we really like, just like pick him up, which again, I also don't see us going that way. But so who are you looking at? Who are you looking at that do you think we could fall, or like a dream guy that you want to fall? Or
well, I mean, like, I think that a dream guy that you and I have both talked about, we both watched some videos on, some film. We both like Walter Nolan, the D tackle out of Ole Miss. Big, strong guy. He's got fast hands. He's got powerful explosiveness off the ball. He is more of a pass rushing D tackle. He's not like a run stuff build, but his power with his size, because he's not really a huge D tackle. He's actually more on the smaller side, if I'm not mistaken. But he just has so much power off the off the snap of the ball. I think he would fit perfectly in replacing Milton Williams and his role, and he's looked like he would be a stud to me. Another guy I would think would be great would be Nick Scourton, edge out of Texas A&M. Heard a lot about him. And one more on the list would be James Pierce Jr., an edge out of Tennessee. All guys that I've seen linked to the Eagles. I believe all of them did top 30 visits with the Eagles as well. And I feel like they all fit the role very well. There's not a lot to go into with that with each of them. I feel like they all have their own strengths and weaknesses, but they're just pass rushing guys. And if you get the picture, I want a stone cold pass rusher. I don't care if it's on the inside or the outside. But I think those three guys fit the mold very well in terms of being able to complement Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter.
No, I mean, I was actually going to comment on that was going to be my guy, James Pierce. Apparently he's had a horrible character issues when going through these interviews. He's was projected to be a top 15 pick. Sounds like someone that would fit in perfectly here if we can get him under control. Very talented guy out of Tennessee. It just seems like that's the reason he's falling down draft boards. And that's the guy I've been looking at. I'm like, well, I mean, he's an edge. He's had character issues. He's a great build, great body.
I hate to say it though, the Eagles do seem to take character pretty seriously. I know that Jalen Carter like kind of had the issues, but like his issues were relatively minor outside of the big mistake that he was a part of, not the cause of or anything like that. He just was involved in the situation. So I didn't think Jalen Carter's character issues were a major flaw the way people kind of made him out to be. This sounds like it could be a little bit more serious of an issue for him if he's falling that far down the board based off of character. And it doesn't sound like character issues in terms of like he did something really bad. It sounds like he's like, if they're learning through interviews that his character is an issue, then he's coming off first impression, he's coming off bad. So that's usually a pretty bad sign. And I think CJ getting, booted from the team, I don't think that was the main reason, but I don't think it helped his case either. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think the Eagles take character pretty seriously.
I mean, first team all SEC, 7.5 sacks and 13 tackles for loss. I'll take him with a little bit of flaws. He can get a therapist.
Just say. What do you think the chances are that they trade down out of this pick?
I think it's very high. I think that's going to be more than likely what we do in the situation. We've seen Howie want to do this, especially if there's a couple guys in a second that he wants more. There's going to be. I don't know. Like, again, we also don't know how this draft is going to go. There's a lot of question marks. We were just looking at draft boards, seeing Walton are going as high as 9 and as low as in this, like 34.
35 range.
This has been the most discrepancy I've seen in draft, like a mock draft type scenario. Other than like, we don't even know where Genty's going to go. We don't know if the Raiders want him. We don't know if I think he's going to Raider. I don't know where Travis Hunter's going. I don't know where Shador's going. Like, I'm pretty sure the first pick is going to be.
It's a lot of movable pieces. I don't think that there's in this draft. I don't think there's any one guy that like stands alone in their position outside of, maybe like a Abdul Carter and Cam Ward. Even going, before a few weeks ago was it Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? But I think Cam Ward has solidified that number one spot in terms of being that number one QB. But again, the Titans might not even go with the QB need Titans might not go, which will tell you enough about what people think about Cam Ward. You know what I mean? Like if a QB needy team with the number one pick doesn't go QB with that pick, that's a pretty telling sign, if you ask me. But could be a big mistake on their part. But
I'm pretty positive they're going to go with them. Their GM came out today and basically said they're not trading the pick away. They're set and ready on their pick. Everything that he's been saying, naming his favorite receivers,
the Calvin Ridley thing, and that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, I mean, he was really egging it on. He got asked who the best running backs in the league were, and he said, I don't know. Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, maybe.
No, he
couldn't have been any more obvious about it.
The Traylon Burks one, he's not even a receiver too, and he's naming him as his top 5 receiver in the league was so funny.
It's great. That's great.
So I live in a Notre Dame house, per se. 2 guys that I really love, and actually my favorite safety in the draft is Xavier Watts. I love this guy. I love how he's played. His IQ is off the charts. The reason he's dropping so much is because his combine doesn't jump off the charts as being this. He runs a 4.6. He jumps 35 inches as his vertical. He's not necessarily athletic superstar, but his IQ is equivalent to Kyle Hamilton's, in my opinion. He's made so many great plays, a leader of that Notre Dame defense that went to a championship. I love this guy. I really hope he's sitting there in the second round and we can move up and get him. I know I want Jesse Bates and everything, but he's my favorite safety on the board. I watched Maslij Starks play. I don't know. I didn't watch the SC guy play enough, but I love Xavier Watts. I really think he has potential to be a Kyle Hamilton type safety, like a really good safety.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I know a little bit about Xavier Watts, not as much as you. I know that you've got your Notre Dame guys, like you said over there, that keep you posted and updated on them. But I would be more than okay with grabbing a safety in the second round, even if you had to move up to get it. I do think the safety is a really big need for what we need right now, and if you can get one of those top safety guys, I think you need to go ahead and do it. And Maslij Starks is in the same boat as Xavier Watts in terms of the combine didn't jump off, and that's why he's falling further down the board, because Maslij Starks was also way up there on the prospect list. Has kind of been floating around 7 to 30 range. So he's all over the place. So I think people are getting a little bit too focused on the combine. As somebody that loves combine stats and digging into them a little bit, I think that people are starting to take a little bit too much, emphasis on that instead of just, watching the film. And when you see a good player, you see a good player.
Yeah, it's been a little too much for me since the John Ross thing. I kind of stopped watching the 40 times. It kind of just pissed me off. I keep an eye on it to an extent.
To an extent. I think that it's largely over proportion. I think if you can run a minimum of a 4.5, you're fine. You're not going to see a big difference in speed on the field in that regard. I truly don't think it's that different. But you might see if somebody almost breaks a record as a wide receiver, you're probably going to see them jump pretty high on the board. But I think it's pretty irrelevant at this point, the 40 time. I only like 40 time in D lineman, actually, because if a D lineman runs a fast 40, D lineman and O lineman, it shows you more of a boost in their athletic ability. It shows you how, for big guys to be able to move that quick takes a lot of athletic ability. I pay attention to those.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a little, yeah, I could agree with that. Another guy out of Notre Dame is Benjamin Morrison. He's a corner out of there. I think he's a stud and should be a first-round talent. He just coming off an injury is the only downside to him. He was an All-American his sophomore season, I believe, which was last year. He is an absolute stud. Should be a surefire first-rounder. he was projected first round before this injury might still be a setback. I'm not saying we should get him. I'm just kind of putting it out there that I think he's a stud. I don't think we go corner in the first 2 rounds at all, to be honest with you. Or first, I don't even know if we go corner in this draft, but we'll see. Just because, like signing with Dory Jackson, having Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks,
I wouldn't be surprised to see it later in the back half of the draft, or if you get a guy like Morrison, you might see him go a little bit earlier. Like if you get a chance at a guy like that in one of those middle rounds, you're going to go after him. But if they don't fall in the right spot, I think they're going to go later round with corner.
Yeah. Another safety that I saw we're linked to is the Penn State Kevin Winston Jr. Have you seen him being linked to us?
Yeah,
as a 3rd round type guy. Again, I watched Penn State this year. He didn't jump off the charts to me. I'll be honest, I watched probably 11 out of it, like their 15 games, and Penn State's really good. Their D line was great this year, and I don't know if he's good or not. But I don't know what you think about him.
I don't know much about him, truthfully. I've heard us link to him. I know that we like to keep local guys, Penn State, but Penn State's kind of tough to judge sometimes because Penn State, I don't know how. I personally have a tough time judging Penn State sometimes because they look poor on the field, but they also win a lot. So like they do a lot of mixed good and bad. They tend to be pretty hard to judge in my opinion. They just like. I've seen such stark highs and such stark lows out of Penn State players that I never know particularly what side they lean more towards. But if you get them at the right price, in a middle round, I would be okay with it. Like I said, I do think safety is going to be a key piece to look into. You still can't forget that we have Sidney Brown waiting in the wings, but I think that he's still a little bit too unseasoned, a little bit too I don't know what the word is, undisciplined, I guess. He's got to work on his discipline a little bit, but he's got all the heart and all the talent. I think he's just got to work on discipline. And I didn't see him in the right place from what I saw out of him last year. But definitely somebody they still have a lot of faith in, and somebody you could see in the mix a lot. But alas, I still would love to see us take safety at some point. I do hope that we go after a tight end in one of those 4th or 5th round picks. I wouldn't be upset if we went linebacker or offensive line in any way because you are going to have to deal with the period of missing Nakobe Dean. Obviously, you've got Bond now to be that centerpiece, but you are going to need some depth in there with the injury issues with Dean. But it's really hard to predict where the Eagles are going to go. They've got holes. We know what they are. As most people would say, it's pretty much edge, D tackle, and safety. And then, a secondary of tight end, O-line, corner. And we all hope they go in the direction, in any of those directions. I think anybody would be fine with. But Howie's got a master plan, and it's been pretty hard to predict this year. So, it could be any of those guys that we've mentioned already. A few other names just to throw out there at you. Tyleek Williams, D tackle out of Ohio State. Mike Green, an edge out of Marshall. Derek Harmon, a D tackle out of Oregon. And even some big name guys like Michael Williams, edge out of Georgia. There's some really big names in that first round. Yeah, there's a lot of big names in that first round with a lot of movability for each one of them. In terms of where they may fall and team needs and whatnot. So keep an eye on all of those guys.
No, the tight end I wanted to mention was Harold Fannin Jr. This guy's out of Bowling Green, had 1,500 yards receiving last year. He's a receiving tight end, a glorified receiver. He kind of plays the Kyle Pitts role at his college, kind of like a Travis Kelce type. I know he's going against like low level competition in like San Diego or San Jose State and like that type of Sun Belt type conference, but this man has balled out on the stat sheet this year. And I know we were literally referring to getting a blocking tight end and how we haven't really signed one. But this guy, if he falls low enough, I think Cowboys just going to scoop him up because of sheer talent. That's a name that I love and look for him in the third, fourth type round. Another guy that I kind of like is, well, I'm not going to, receivers are stupid.
Go ahead, spit it out.
I mean, I like Trevor Etienne. I know I know that I'm a big Travis guy. If you guys didn't know that, his career got derailed like a crazy one. But I think it's going to be similar to Will Shipley type thing for me this year. Trevor carried at Georgia. He was awesome in the playoffs, and just watching him, if he falls to the fifth round and like our last fifth round pick, take a flyer on him, I would not be upset. He's been dropping like a rock. Ollie Gordon has set records at OSU or Oklahoma State. There's just two Ohio State backs in there, but Ollie's a guy that's probably just he's a little too small to play. But I kind of like my running backs. I kind of like this running back draft class. I don't know why, but they're all falling so far down because running back doesn't matter. And I'm not saying we need one, but I don't really. I don't.
It's something to keep an eye on. Hey, you don't want them pushing out your guy Will Shipley though. You gotta be careful.
No, I know. I mean, no one's gonna take his spot. Obviously, it's solidified.
Well, hey, AJ Dillon's not like all those free agent signings that we talked about. Although they have high potential to be big impact players, they also have almost equal potential to not even make the roster. Which goes to show, where these guys could land on this team this year. None of those guys are 100% on the roster. So, keep that in mind when it comes to the draft and, what we want guys to, what kind of role we want guys to have. So.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned it, Bert, before. Did you mention Tyler Booker out of Bama?
I hadn't mentioned him yet, but I know we were linked to him.
No, I mean, he's like the only Bama guy in the first round. I understand Bama's had a down year, and I don't think Miller is good at all. Personally, I hated that talk.
I don't either. But I don't even think he's a little bit good. But
if he's sitting there at 32 and like he's the best lineman available, I mean, and
oh my God, I thought you were talking about Milrow. I was like, can you stop? I was like,
no, Tyler Booker. I wouldn't draft Milrow if they paid me money to draft him.
I wouldn't draft him as Mr. Irrelevant. Yes, I would, but
I want to draft him as Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah, but I know we're not super helpful in this case. Are there any guys that you see teams taking that's going to make an impact that's going to shock the league? Like, do you think Abdul Carter is going to be that good if he goes to the Giants?
I don't know what to expect out of a lot of the guys. I think that this is a weird draft. Like we said, where a lot of guys have a lot of high potential, but like a low floor. So it'll be interesting to see what guys will do on each team. I think that it's like I said, tough to predict in the sense that so many pieces are movable. It's more the position needs of what you expect teams to take, but not exact players. Like you don't know what players they're going to go with in said positions. So like, I mean, in terms of Cam Ward going to the Titans, I think that he'll probably give them a spark that they haven't had in a while. But I don't really think Cam Ward's. I think he has plenty of room to prove me wrong, but I don't have a ton of faith in Cam Ward yet. I think he's the kind of guy that's electric and will put up big plays. It kind of reminds me of Caleb Williams in terms of like ability. I think that they'll have a similar kind of impact to their teams where he's gonna make plenty of mistakes, but he's also gonna have big plays. You're not really gonna know where to stand on him by the end of the year. That's what I expect out of him. Shador, I've got no clue. I've seen some big signs of him showing like really good footwork, good accuracy, good throwing motion, and then I've seen him make some really stupid mistakes, things that you don't want to see out of an NFL quarterback. Obviously, his attitude is something to be, aware of. And I don't really know where to stand on him and how much of Colorado's lack of success was on his shoulders. So he could literally go anywhere from the the third pick to like the third round. So I really don't know what to expect out of him, but I honestly think that whatever team he does go to, he's going to make a pretty good impact at least in the first year.
Yeah.
Abdul Carter, I'm going to just tell you what my dad said because I haven't actually watched Abdul Carter a ton. I would love to have him based off of what I have seen off of him and what I did, the few Penn State games that I did watch. He was a game wrecker the whole time. But he plays with a lot of speed and not a lot of power. And I don't know that he's like the same. Like he's not. I don't know that he's exactly Micah Parsons 2.0 the way.
I don't think he is either, dude. I really don't.
I think that he lacks the power to be that top tier guy right away. He's going to have to work into that role. I think he has plenty of potential to be that guy. And I think that his speed is definitely going to, he's still going to get himself plenty of sacks. But I think that for him to push himself into that upper echelon of edge, he needs to increase his power off the edge and his ability to move guys around.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think he's kind of – I'm not saying he's overrated because that's kind of just not fair. But I don't think he's great. I don't think he's like – people are saying, would you trade your entire draft for Abdul Carter? Like, no, I won't.
No, absolutely not. I would not. No, in no world would I ever trade our whole draft capital or A.J. Brown for a chance to get Abdul Carter.
People got to stop with that.
Yeah, the fact that those even became a conversation was just because WIP got bored and ran out of things to talk about. I mean, the fact that anybody ever even entertained it is a different story. But, I think they're going to be I think he'll be okay, but I don't think he's going to be that guy that the hype is indicating he'll be right away. Outside of that, I mean, I think you're going to see a great year out of TJ Warren wherever he ends up going. I find a hard time seeing him not be an impact player for whatever team he ends up on. And truly, man, this draft I don't know a ton about it. Like, I really don't know enough about all the players to give an accurate, who's going to be great. I've talked about the guys that I think are going to be key pieces in this draft. The guys that I've mentioned are who I know. And outside of that, man, I'm pretty lost. We said, as Eagles fans, we didn't have a lot of time to prepare this year, and I didn't give myself enough time to look into everybody. Usually, I sit down and watch film of a bunch of guys that I think we're going to go after, and what kind of names we're linked to. I usually have more information on them, but it's been hard to keep up this off season.
Yeah. Well, regardless, Thursday night will be a fun night, and I hope it. I mean. It's just going to be – I'm just curious where guys go in general. I wonder who Dallas takes. I wonder who the Giants take it.
I hope Dallas takes John T. so bad. I've been saying it's – ever since probably third game of watching Ashton John T., I was like, oh, this has Jerry Jones written all over it. I know it. Like top 5, top 6, pick or whatever they are. Like I can totally see them doing it.
You're not a Genty guy?
Huh?
You're not a Genty guy?
No, I love Genty. I think it would be ridiculously. I think they'd be getting a stud like the same way that the Giants got Saquon and Cowboys got Ezekiel Elliott back in the day. Like studs, they fit the role. But stupid move to take a running back that high in the draft while you have other key positions that you have to be taken care of first.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think Genty's going to go top 10.
I can see the Cowboys falling for that trap 10 out of 10 times. I just see them falling right into it. It just has them written all over it to me.
Yeah. Well,
but it'll be interesting to see where everybody goes. I think it's going to be pretty unpredictable for not just the Eagles fans, but pretty much everybody around the league. It's going to be a fun draft, especially the first couple days. And I don't know about you, but I hope that we see, a breaking news article for Eagles moving some draft capital around to get a big name guy. So
I would love
that's my hope for the night.
That would be awesome. I would be excited, very ecstatic about that. So
absolutely. But we've been running a little bit long. So for anybody that ends up watching this whole video, we appreciate you guys for sticking around, keeping up with what we're talking about. I hope that we had some insightful takes for you guys. I hope that those names that we brought forward are going to be, in the Eagles' eyes as well. and hopefully we see an entertaining and successful night out of the Eagles come Thursday and the weekend. Any final thoughts out of you, sir?
No, I'm excited for next season already.
I know, dude. I'm ready to get started already. It's crazy.
But it should be a fun time. This is always fun, just getting to the draft, getting like a taste of football again, and I'm ready to get back at it and win another championship.
Yes, sir. Road to championship number 3. Let's do it, baby.
Hell yeah, brother. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. If you like this video, make sure you click the like button in the corner. And if you like to keep up with our videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll be back to you guys with a draft recap in the coming weeks. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Then we'll be taking a little bit of a break up until the preseason startup. And we'll be back to you guys in the coming weeks before preseason to keep you posted on what's going to be going on in training camp and whatnot, and what to expect out of this team. So thank you guys for sticking along the ride. We appreciate you. We hope to see you guys back with us again, and hopefully we see a successful draft on Thursday night. So
Yes, sir.
Go Birds, and we hope to see you guys soon.
Yes, sir.